We'll get those life vests zipped and clipped, strap down those rods, and stow away those tackle boxes because we are going fishing. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bass to Anglers podcast. I'm your host, Keith Niswanger, and I hope this episode finds you with 5 for 25 in your live well. But we all know that no results are final until you take that polygraph test. We got to make sure you didn't stuff any weights down the throats of those bass that you caught. So don't be nervous. Be sure to tell the whole truth and nothing but the whole truth. Amen. Special thanks to all of you that have taken time to like and follow our videos and who have offered comments about how we can get better. We're trying. We're building our channel, and your follows, likes, and comments mean a lot to us. By now, you probably know that Caymas boats, they're coming to the West. If you have any interest in these boats, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Bringing Caymas to the West is something that I am passionate about. It's something that I have spent quite a bit of time working on, and Caymas is here. So am I. And if you've got any questions about Caymas boats, reach out. I will be happy to set you up with the nearest Caymas dealer to you and help walk you through the process. Are you looking for a new boat? Send me a DM on Instagram at Bass to Wranglers Podcast. I'll get right back to you just as soon as I put the boat on the trailer. Today we are looking at the rich history of the real U.S. Open. Yeah, that one. The WAN Bass U.S. Open has been the elite event in the Western United States for over 40 years, and every year it draws the who's who in all Western bass fishing, as well as dozens of top names from around the country, and yeah, even some international anglers come to this event in the West. But first, if you like the content we produce on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Tell him, Larry. Larry? Where's Larry? What? He wants more money? He's holding out for a new contract? Look, if you like the content, please subscribe. Let's get her done. I'd really like to thank all of our social media subscribers for being part of our platform here, and I think we found a way to do this. Hit the following quick response code, the QR code, and check out the cool products that our podcast partners offer. And in some cases, there are some nifty discounts available for you to take advantage of. Go on, hit that QR code. Larry, get him on the phone. Our guest today is head of tournament operations for WAN Bass, the longtime foundation of professional bass fishing in the Western United States, really the organization that sustains the fishing industry in the Western United States. Juan Bass is the host of the real U.S. Open tournament and really the organization that has brought organized bass fishing to the Western United States. Other organizations have come and gone, but Juan Bass keeps on going. Billy Egan, welcome to the Bass Wranglers podcast. Thanks for being with us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, it's getting to be that exciting time of the year. Juan Bass U.S. Open coming up very soon, and I wanted to make sure we had this conversation before that event took place.
Yeah, we're excited to have the 41st anniversary right around the corner. We're less than 2 weeks away from the launch on October 16th, but a lot more to do between now and then. We've got about 186 pros and about the same amount of co-anglers right now. Got a few more guys that are talking about getting in, but we have our big expo scheduled for October 15th at the Edge Pavilion, which is a big indoor tent, 5,000 person concert hall, October 15th from 2 to 5 p.m., where all the anglers get to come in, meet all the sponsors. We've got about 36 to 40 sponsors that are going to be having booths there and gifting all the anglers something and showing off their product and their brands and all that good stuff. And, you know, the general public's actually welcome to come to the expo. So anybody that's in the surrounding area, whether it's Las Vegas, whether it's out here in California, Riverside area, if you feel like coming out for a day, check into one of the hotels. They've got great discount rates. Stay Saturday night, come to the expo, meet all the touring anglers like yourself, Rick Clunn, Gary Klein, Josh Bertrand, Clifford Perch, Chris Aldane, all your favorite guys will be there. And, you know, experience the U.S. Open for yourself, and even stay Sunday night if you want and come to Monday morning's launch at Catherine's Landing, which is a pretty amazing deal there. So we're really excited about this event coming up.
Absolutely. So I caught the tournament bass fishing bug in the fall of 1981. I'm an old guy, and I went to a seminar that was put on by this organization, Juan Bass, and it featured U.S. Open winner Greg Hines. He just won the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
A Northern California hammer named Gary Klein, and another up-and-coming young guy, Rich Tauber. These were the three guys that were at the seminar that I went to. And man, I sat there, I was mesmerized. I think I was about 18, 19 years old. And that's when I got hooked. And all these years, Juan Bass has managed to leapfrog over all the ups and downs of tournament fishing. Many organizations have come and gone in that time. What is it about Juan Bass that has allowed Juan Bass to survive all the ups and downs?
You know, this is again our 41st anniversary U.S. Open. So for over 40 years, Juan Bass has been out here on the West running bass fishing tournaments. And, you know, the key to that is Western Outdoor News, our publication. That's been around. It's a family-owned business, still owned by Lori Twilliger, originally the same family that started it over 70 years ago. And without a backbone like Western Outdoor News to be able to, you know, put the information out to the general public, our subscribers, to really showcase our advertisers and our sponsors, you wouldn't be able to sustain, I think, the organization as long as we have, because, you know, the two work in conjunction. Without Western Outdoor News, there is no Juan Bass, and transversely. So we've had a great foundation for many years, and a great platform to put out information about fishing, bass fishing, saltwater fishing, hunting, and everything. So I think that one of the keys is the backing of Western Outdoor News and the tradition that it has, because it plays into the Juan Bass scenario as well. This is now my 14th year running Western Outdoor News and Juan Bass and all the events, anything from, you know, freshwater trout tournaments, striped bass tournaments. We also run the largest tuna tournament in the world in Cabo, which we have our 25th anniversary event coming up right after the U.S. Open. I've got 4 events in the next 5 weeks to do. I'm leaving Thursday for our Big Bear Trout Fest, which is a 500-person fishing tournament for 2 days for trout. I'm home for 2 days, and I pack up and leave for the U.S. Open for 10 days. home for 2 days, and I fly to Cabo for 12 days, and then back for 3 days, and back at the Arizona remake of the Arizona Open at Havasu, because we had to cancel that in February due to inclement weather issues. So lots of stuff going on, but the focus right now is the U.S. Open. We've got just about everything buttoned up, all the sponsors ready to go, and looking forward to getting out there.
You mentioned Western Outdoor News. I that takes me back immediately to my childhood, and I mean that's a lot to be said for a guy that's my age. I'm 60 plus, and the idea that Western Outdoor News was part of my childhood. I grew up in a fishing family. I believe it was every Wednesday that publication arrived in the mail, and you can't go to a tackle shop without seeing Western Outdoor News. It is everywhere.
Yeah, myself as well. I'm 56 this year, but back before the internet, before computers, you
Yeah,
literally rushed to the tackle store on Wednesday or Thursday to get the newest issue to find out where the bite was,
right.
especially if you're going to the Sierras or you're doing any saltwater fishing, because there was no other platform to find out what was going on. You literally went to either your mailbox or the tackle store to find out what the bite was before you made your plans to go fishing. And we've over the years transitioned with our social media platforms and websites and our email blasts in order to stay connected with all of the anglers and our subscribers, and offer something, a platform to get people outside, to try products, to get things in their hands, to buy boats, to buy motors, to really help the fishing industry out here out west. And we're proud that WAM-Bass and Western Outdoor News has been around as long as it has. Like you said, I've seen a lot of organizations come and go through my 14 years here, and the important part is following through with what you say you're going to do. If you're going to provide prizes and or incentives for people to fish your events, follow through with that. You have to, otherwise the anglers will put you to the
Oh yeah.
stone, basically.
Oh yeah.
But we have great sponsorships. We have great relationships, not only with our brands and sponsors, but also with our anglers. I make it a point to try and make friends with as many people as I can, because the customer, you, the angler, are the ones that we're trying to take care of here, and also give a platform so that you can go out and garnish more sponsorships for yourself, so that you can attend all the events and get the time off, because we know it's difficult to get time off for these events, but if it's important enough to you, obviously a lot of people are doing it. We get the largest numbers out here out west.
Yeah, and not to harp on it too much, but the significance that Western Outdoor News plays in keeping the fishing industry afloat out here. I mean, it really. I don't think we have a fishing industry without Western Outdoor News. I mean, we would have it, but it would be minuscule compared to what it is today. I mean, Western Outdoor News is where this information comes from.
Yeah, Bert Twilliger, the founder of the company over 70 years ago, believed highly in informing the public of what's going on in the outdoor industry, and that's freshwater, saltwater, and hunting. We're now every other week because after COVID things kind of changed, but we realized that there's, especially with social media out there, you can find out exactly what you want to know right now if you
Yeah.
click and search. But what we've done is we've taken the time to separate ourselves, and instead of chasing news every 3 days basically and trying to put it in print for the following week, we're now taking our time to do bigger, better stories, more in-depth techniques and styles, so that people learn a little bit more from us. Yeah, they can find out what's going on instantly right now, but if they want to find out how to implement those practices more in depth, then they're reading Western Outdoor News, they're reading from our sponsors and our partners out there that are doing it on a day-to-day basis. And we try to get out there as much as possible as well. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to a trip that I've been trying to do for 14 years and take 11 guys down to Cedros Island in Baja for some monster yellowtail fishing,
Yeah.
and did that for 4 days and had a blast. And it's just connecting with the Western fishermen, the outdoorsmen, giving them information so that they can either tune their skills a little bit or find where and when things are happening as often as possible.
Okay, so we'll shift to the bass fishing side of this now. In your time with Juan Bass, I mean, what kind of things have changed in the sport? We got $7 gasoline right now, literally $7 a gallon in California. We've got electronics that are almost worth more than the boats themselves. What do you see as the significant changes in the 14 years that you've been involved in Juan Bass?
Well, technology obviously has been, I think, the biggest change, obviously, with the electronics and the boats and the motors and everything that, the platforms that people used to fish on are immensely different than they were back then. And, the baits, the industry has just grown exponentially. And, we all went through the 2008
Yeah.
economic decline. We all
Yep.
made it through that. That was a big one. The thing is everybody, not everybody, but the outdoorsman wants to be outdoors. Nobody's going to stop you from getting out there and doing what you're passionate about. There's a lot of things that have changed through the years. Most of it, again, I was running tournaments with little sheets of paper instead of a computer, writing down the weights, tear slips and handing out receipts. And now we're using computers. Now you're using, digital wayboards, so the people at home, you're doing live broadcasts, you're bringing it to their living room so that they don't have to make the trek to go out there, but they're at least being able to feel like they're at the event and a part of it. So, obviously the forward facing sonar has been a big thing. The funny thing is, I think people just have to learn how to adapt to the technology, either learn it or don't. And or the organizations like ourselves or Bass or anybody else has to find ways to better show how that technique or that new product is changing the field. Don't argue that it's got to be banned, it's got to be da, da, da. No, our job is to show the general public why these new advances are important and or working for certain anglers. It's kind of like the A-rig, when that came out, and oh my God, it's going to change bass fishing tournaments. We have to ban that thing. It's going to be a showstopper. And I take a different approach here with Western Outdoor News and the rules and the things that we do. We follow the Department of Fish and Game recommendations and rules. So if they say that you can throw an Alabama rig with 3 hooks on it or 2 hooks on it, depending on what state you are, go for it. Who am I to say you can't do something that DFG already says you can't? Forward facing sonar, that's just another piece of the pie, that's going to get people to either augment or change, because who knows, 6 months, a year from now, forward facing sonar might be something of the past. But the funny thing is I won't allow floggers in my tournaments. Those little things that you look.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, okay, if you can't deal with the electronics that are on your boat, you sure as hell don't need a little flogger to look at the fish. That's not allowed in my tournaments. It's just, a little bit of common sense. But that and the anglers, the fishing techniques, there's some flat out guys. I mean, I always think of Aaron Martins, my good buddy Aaron, who passed away a couple of years ago, that we're honoring this year in the Hall of Fame. There are people that are just straight up fish whisperers. It doesn't matter what technology's out there, what they use or turn on or not. They just understand the biology of the thing, if you will, the lake, how to break down a lake, what the fish may be transitioning into. And, you can show somebody how to use forward facing sonar, but you still have to catch the fish yourself.
Yep, that's for sure.
Seeing them is one thing. Catching them is a whole nother thing.
You still got to make them bite. That's for sure. Now, the U.S. Open is still a favorite, not just of Western pros, but pros across the country. It's so funny. It seems like every time Rick Clunn gets a chance to talk about the U.S. Open, he always says it. He doesn't hide the fact that he likes the U.S. Open more than anything else he's fished. He thinks it's the most important tournament of the year. What is it about the U.S. Open that makes it so special? I mean, I know I have my ideas, but what do you think about it? What makes it so special?
Well, I think for Rick Clunn, Gary Klein, the guys that have fished it back in the inception and have still come out every year, to them, it's tradition. Again, Rick Clunn says if you can't call yourself a true champion if you haven't won a U.S. Open, and that says a lot about the event. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, back in the day, the U.S. Open was at Lake Mead. It was in June, July. It was 120 degrees. I even ran some of those back when I first started, and it was miserable out there. I mean, guys running to the hospital getting IVs. You're hearing from the national parks. Why was 12 guys checked into the hospital today? What are you talking about? Well, they were all getting IVs, because back then it was what Rick Clunn has dubbed it the Iditarod of bass fishing, and we've noticed through the years the dates, because ICAST is no longer coming out here. That's the U.S. Open used to be in that time of year, because that's when ICAST would come to Florida to Las Vegas every other year. So through the years, I've moved the event a little bit further and further out of that scorching heat so that more people can attend it, because there are a lot of people that hold this U.S. Open so dear to their heart that they feel like they can't miss it. They have to be there. They've got to be a part of it. And for some of the AAA anglers who participate in the event, because we're a shared weight format, we're getting a little up there in age, and that heat would take them out of the game. And we were finding that we couldn't find the AAAs to match with the pros. So we kind of moved it through the years, later and later in the year. It was in September for a while, which was still hot, which you're dealing with fish mortality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we found a home in October, which really worked not only for the event, but for the touring guys, because whether they're fishing BASS or MLF or FLW back in the days, it didn't fit with the schedule. They always had something on top of the event that we were doing. So I thought it was important to find a date that would not conflict with those major organizations, so that the Rick Clunns, the Gary Kleins, the Josh Bertrands, the Chris Zaldanes, and those guys that are constantly fishing those other events had a time of year where they could attend the U.S. Open, as opposed to, sorry, Bill, I really want to be there, but I can't. I got an event here or there. So I think the availability to be able to fish it, to be able to compete against the national guys, as well as the top Western pros out here. And we've got a number of really good sticks. I mean, Bryant Smith did really well out there on the BASS tour for his first year. He's coming to fish the U.S. Open. They may be gone back east to fish or leave the West to do it, but they always come back for the U.S. Open because it means that much to them. And it means that much to us as well. The real U.S. Open, if you will. It's always been the U.S. Open. There were 2 years over the 40 years, there were no U.S. Opens back when the companies were transitioning. We took over the U.S. Open again in their 80, I think it was 80s, somewhere around there, 82, 83. But, we're very proud of the U.S. Open. We're proud of what it's meant to the West and what it's meant to Western anglers and, touring anglers as well, to be a part of it.
My greatest claim to fame ever in tournament fishing happened in a U.S. Open. I don't even remember what year it was, but after 2 days, I was in 20th place. I had found these fish. They were pushed. The bait was way back in the cove, and I was on these fish, and I knew I was in the right place because I was sharing the spot with Aaron Martins. And so I knew that I was in the right place. But as things turn out the next day, overnight or whatever, the stripers must have pushed the bait out, because the next day I could only get 3 and I fell. But that was my great claim to fame in tournament fishing was being right there, but also being elbow to elbow with Aaron. And I just knew that if he was there on these fish, that these were the right fish.
Right. Yeah. We've had some amazing U.S. Open champions throughout the year.
Yeah.
Aaron had won 3. Clifford Perch has won 3. The only 2 guys that had ever won 3. Clifford Perch is the only one currently going for number 4. And you've got guys like Byron Velvick, John Murray that won 2, Rick Clunn, and all the guys out there. I mean, last year, Josh Bertrand finally put everything together to be a U.S. Open champion. And you could see his speech right after the U.S. Open last year, how much it meant to him to win that tournament.
Absolutely.
No matter how many events he's fished, no matter where he's fished, the U.S. Open has always been the one event a lot of these guys want to win. So it means a lot.
Yeah. So now for years, the US Open has been a standalone event, but it recently has become part of a tour, right? Is it now a tour event?
It is. We basically, when we partnered with Bascat Boats and Mercury Motors years ago, the industry kind of made a shift. We were doing teams, pro-ams, US Open, everything spread out, 14 regions all over the place. And I think it was back in 2015. The sponsors came to us and said, "Hey, if you're going to be doing the teams and the pro-ams and the US Open, we'll see you at the US Open." We're like, "Wait, what?" "Yeah, there's too many people doing the teams. There's too many people doing pro-ams. We like the big event, so we're going to support the US Open next year." And we went, wait a minute. Maybe we are spinning our wheels a little too much trying to compete with, the Joneses and,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Everybody else wants a piece of the pie. So we made a smart decision back then to augment what we were doing. And if the sponsors wanted a big event like the US Open, well, let's bring them more big events like that, which is where the California Open was spawned, which mimicked the US Open. It wasn't the same payout or entry fee, wasn't as expensive as the US Open, but same format, same platform, everything at Clear Lake. And then that one grew to, hey, now that we have one up north, let's do one over in Lake Havasu. So the Havasu Open was spawned there, which we've run a bunch of those now. And then we just kept adding them, and it just made sense to incentivize the guys to fish all these. Let's make them a points race again. Well, we only have 3 events. Well, then we're going to have to include the US Open as part of the points. And because it's the last event of the year, typically in October, we can culminate the point race at the US Open, crown not only a champion of a US Open, but a AOY leader there as well, and give out those prizes that we typically do every year. And it's grown. So now we just announced in 2024 that we've added a 5th Open to our schedule. So we've had 4. It was originally the California Open, the Havasu Open, the Mojave Open, and the US Open. Well, now we're adding the Shasta Open up in Northern California, so that there's 2 events in the north, 2 events in the south, and the US Open being the culmination. So we're still putting all the pieces together for 2024 for the points and what you've got to do and what your commitment needs to be. But roughly speaking, if with the 5 events, if you fish the 2 in your region, 1 outside your region, and the US Open, there's going to be a pretty good carrot at the end of the year for the angler that comes out top of the Angler of the Year, and maybe a few of the anglers below that. So really putting some cool things together. Got a lot of meetings that we've been doing over the last few weeks to try and put all that together, that hopefully shortly after this year's US Open, we'll be able to put all the pieces out there and let everybody know what we're doing. But we're looking forward to an awesome year in 24. But we still have 2 events to complete this year: the US Open and the AZ Open at Havasu, November 10th, 11th, and 12th, which is actually a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because we knew a lot of the guys that came to the first one had only had so many vacation days to use. So we kind of put it aside, said, let's make a weekend event out of this. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, November. The summertime pressure's gone at Havasu, and the fishing's really good. And a lot of guys are really excited about getting to Havasu in November. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into my next question. I was going to ask, we've seen some real disasters, especially this year, with some tournament organizations that had just absolutely crashed and burned and had left some anglers kind of scratching their heads. And at the same time, we see WAN Bass expanding its tournament schedule. So this is going to be now a 5-event tour. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
it's going to be a 5-event tour. All of them are going to be points, and again, I haven't figured out all the specifics, but just shooting off the top of my head, if you basically can have, of the 5 events, you can have 1 throwout, if you will.
Okay.
So if so that you can fish 4 of the 5 and know that because you missed one of them, you're not going to miss out. Everybody gets to basically throw 1 event out. What we want to accomplish is we want the northern guys to get out of their comfort zone and fish 1 event down in the south, because the south guys have no problem going to Clear Lake. You know, they like to fish Havasu, they like to fish Mojave, Mead, but to get, you know, to get a South guy to go north to Clear Lake, that's not a problem. Hell yeah, I'll go to Clear Lake. I can't wait to go to Clear Lake. But to get the North guys to come out of their comfort zone and come fish a desert lake, you needed more buy-in, if you will, up north.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they feel like they can fish two events, Lake Shasta, which is a great fishery, gets large numbers at all the events that they have up there because everybody's catching fish. So we've added a northern event. So now they will buy into a southern event and help the participation in all the events. Not that we're lacking in participation.
No.
We still have the largest turnouts of any organization out west, but it helps get the buy-in from these guys to support the series.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we hope they fish them all, but it gives them an opportunity to say, okay, that one I might just call my throw out, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. Now you mentioned the term carrot, and when you said carrot, it made me remember something that I had heard. Do you want to talk about this carrot yet? Because it would be great to throw that out there right now. If you're not prepared to talk about it, that's all right as well. But there are rumblings. There are rumblings in the community. Let's just say.
Well, unfortunately, I can't talk about it.
Okay.
There's, you know, you may have heard it, but it's not really a secret because I've been working on this for a number of years. My main goal is to put on the largest circuit in the West and eventually figure out a way where the West and the East can coincide and utilize each other's platforms to give the Western anglers the opportunity to go to the big show without having to give up everything to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if a Western guy wants to go chase the dream, either fish the EQs or fish MLF, they literally have to give up their current job,
Yeah,
kiss their wife and their kids goodbye, and be gone for 9 months out of the year, and maybe come home every once in a while to see the family. It's a
right.
huge commitment.
Absolutely.
But if we can utilize our platform and the success that we have to connect ourselves with the East and figure out a way where through maybe our events, maybe a sanction, if you will, or something like that, that our anglers get an opportunity to go to the big show, that would be the ultimate for the West. So
very exciting.
obviously, you know, people can read between the lines.
Absolutely. We will. Yeah. But
no matter what it is, we want to provide the best opportunity for Western anglers to take the next step and still have an opportunity to win some big money, big prizes, and sponsorships through our events out west. If that makes sense.
It does. That's very exciting. As an angler that lives in the West, it's very exciting to hear this. So another story of mine. So after the seminar that I saw back in 1981, I convinced a friend to go with me. We hooked up my bass tracker to my Toyota Celica and drove to Lake Nacimiento to fish a WAN Bass team event. Back then, WAN Bass team events were not just regional; they were everywhere.
Everywhere.
And so we drove to Nassau, and I think I caught one smallmouth bass that day, but I was thrilled to go through the weigh-in. Will we see team tournaments coming back for WAN Bass?
You know, I highly doubt it. You know, we only have so much time to put together the best events that we can, and to focus on that is our main goal, to run these big events. And, you know, like I said, we run the largest tuna tournament in the world in Cabo. We're talking about adding another event of that nature. We can only handle so much. We don't, you know, the kayaks, the teams, it's just too much sea to swim, if you will.
Absolutely.
And we feel it's more important to focus on what we do at our core the best, and continue to do that, and not get sidetracked on what 5 or 6 other organizations, let alone 10 to 12 other organizations, are trying to compete for. So for us, the focus is bigger, better events, and giving the anglers, the sponsors, and the fans more of what they enjoy.
Very good. Billy, I appreciate your time today. This has been something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and look forward to seeing how that U.S. Open turns out in a couple of weeks. I think it's going to be a lot of it. It's going to be very exciting. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. If you're watching, you're a fan of fishing, you live out west and you're anywhere near, you're an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours away from Laughlin, come on out for October 15th. Come meet the pros, come meet the sponsors, feel like you're a part of the event. Check out the first day's launch and come be a part of history at the 2023 U.S. Open, brought to you by the LTC, Visit Laughlin, Basscat Boats, and Mercury Motors. So
All
thanks
right.
for fun.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for being with us today. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you again soon. Camus Boats, from the mind of Earl Bentz. Excellence, tradition, and service, all part of the Camus advantage. On the water, perfection. This is your next boat. Build your next boat at camusboats.com. Ducket Fishing, pro-driven rods, reels, and baits. The choice of champions. Check out ducketfishing.com to see what everybody's talking about. Ducket Fishing, pro-driven. And by Bait Pop, from the good folks who bought you fish formula. Easy to apply, a thick paste that stays on your bait and gives your bait that extra pop it needs. Check them out at theoriginalfishformula.com. Basco Fishing is the official wardrobe partner of the Bass Two Anglers podcast. Basco is making bass fishing fun again. Check them out at bascofishing.com. I know you folks in the Midwest and the East look at bass fishing in the West and you think, well, fill in the blanks for yourself. But the West is relevant. Consider this. Techniques like flipping, punching, frogging, drop shot, mondo swim baits, and glide baits. All the things that everyone wants to fish. This can all be traced back to the West. That's where the roots of these techniques are. Some of the techniques came from Japan, but they came through the West first. The U.S. Open is the premier event in the West, and it will certainly draw the attention of big names across the country when the tournament launches here in a few weeks, mid-October. You're going to want to follow these results, see how this shakes out. Promises to be an exciting event on Lake Mojave, which is on the Colorado River, right on the border between Nevada and Arizona. It's going to be an exciting event. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Bass Two Anglers podcast. As always, we appreciate you coming by. Until next time, keep both hands on the wheel. Keep those life vests zipped and clipped. Be safe out there, and we'll see you very soon.